Tommy Smith, the seventh of 12 children, was born on June 6, 1944, in Clarksville, Texas, to Dora and Richard Smith. As a child, Tommy Smith was faced with many hardships. For example, at a young age, Tommy Smith suffered from a severe case of pneumonia. And to add to that, because of his poor lifestyle, he had no choice but to start working at a factory at age 12. John Carlos was born as an only child on June 5, 1945, in Harlem, New York. At 12, John, like Tommy, went to work in a factory. He was fast. As a result, later in his life, there was a lot of pressure on him to become an Olympic runner. By doing this, he could support his family better, which consisted of two working parents. Tommy Smith attended Lemoore High School in Lemoore, California, setting many school track records, many of which still remain at the school. John Carlos went to Machine Trade and Medical High School in Manhattan, New York, which is now known as Life Science Secondary School. After graduating from Machine Trade and Medical High School, he was awarded a full track and field scholarship to East Texas State University. He attended ETSU for 1 year, single-handedly winning the school's first and only track and field Lone Star Conference championship. After that year, he changed colleges from ETSU to San Jose State University. Tommy Smith, on the other hand, earned a scholarship to SJSU and stayed there for 4 years.
In order to participate in the Olympics, a person must pass the Olympic trials, which were held in 2 different places. Los Angeles for the semifinals from June 29th to the 30th, and Echo Summit, California from September 6th through the 16th. Tommy Smith and John Carlos trained vigorously for these trials. More weight was added to the difficulty when the finals were held at an unusually high altitude. This eventually paid off because it conditioned them for the high altitude of the actual Olympics held in Mexico City, which was 7,382 feet high. During the trials, competitors were faced with a 20-kilometer run on September 7th and a 50-kilometer run on September 10th, which was twice as hard because of the altitude.
The years before the 1968 Olympics were filled with the struggles of the Black community to have their civil rights recognized.
There were many reasons for why Tommy Smith and John Carlos decided to take a stand and raise their fist during the national anthem at the Olympics. The 2 athletes received their medals shoeless, but wearing black socks to represent black poverty. Tommy Smith wore a black scarf around his neck to represent black pride. John Carlos had his tracksuit top unzipped to show solidarity with all the blue-collar workers in the U.S. and wore a necklace of beads, which he described were for those individuals that were lynched or killed and that no one said a prayer for, that were hung and tarred. It was for those thrown off the side of the boats in the Middle Passage.
The day when Tommy Smith and John Carlos raised their fists during the Star-Spangled Banner affected the whole world in both positive and negative ways. For a while after Smith and Carlos raised their fist, people were outraged and confused at what they did. Both of them received many death threats for years afterwards and ended up getting their Olympic medals taken from them. The incidents that happened at the Mexico City Olympics in 1968 have drastically changed people's thoughts about racism and have had a huge role in almost eradicating racism. Fast forward 50 years, and what we have now are two iconic figures that were brave enough to protest against what was wrong, and a country almost completely wiped of racism, all because of what Tommy Smith and John Carlos did.